Today is January 7th, 2019. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Jackie Long in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. You live in Oshalea. Sir, where were you born?
Born in Bartlesville, 3/6/1946, Memorial Hospital.
I was too. You're older than me. I wasn't born in September.
Martin.
Who's your father?
Clyde Walton Long,
And your mother?
Anna Lee Long.
Lee was her maiden name?
No, Jones was her maiden name.
Jones.
Anna Lee.
Okay. You go through school in Bartlesville?
No, I went to school at Copan.
Copan.
Graduated from Copan.
What year?
1965.
1965. What type of work your father do?
My father was a railroad worker. He worked 38 years on the Santa Fe Railroad from Tulsa to Topeka.
Did you live in Copan?
I lived in Copan
Okay.
all my life.
Okay. What chores you do around the house?
We had milk cows, we had ducks, chickens, pigs, and a big garden. And that's mowing the yard.
How big was just a big yard? Was it a farm or what?
Half a block
Half a block. Okay.
on the west side of town.
Yep. Describe your house in Copan.
They said that house was at one time was a powerhouse, and my dad bought this place, and it had shingles and it had metal siding on it, and it was a two room with a big old screened-in porch.
Is that a powerhouse for the oil wells?
Yep.
The old Shacklerod oil wells?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Did they have Shacklerod oil wells around there when you were a kid?
Yeah, lots. You'd hear them old rod lines screeching, and they ride a horse. We rode horses a lot, and you'd hear them going cross country, riding around and horseback to Mullendore. We'd ride them horses from Mullendore out there in the 7th grade.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Riding back and forth.
Did you know the old man Mullendore?
Yes, I did. I drove him back and forth to Pawhuska.
Tell me about him.
Mr. Mullendore was Gene Mullendore was to me, was a nice, real nice, and EC was too. Mr. Mullendore, when I finally got my driver's license, I got to drive him to Pawhuska a lot, get a haircut, and his wife would always give me extra money to give a tip, $20 tip or 15 or something like that. And I thought it was quite an honor to get to drive him, because I always stayed cleaner than most of everybody else. And I got to drive him and her both to Tulsa and Dallas and Oklahoma City and stuff to shop. And she'd always want me to dress up like a cowboy. If I didn't have it on, I'd have to stop at a Western store and she'd buy it all. And I'd get home, my mom would say, "Where'd you get all them clothes, boots and stuff?" And I said, "Mrs. Mullendore bought them for me." And she was the nicest, prettiest lady you'd ever want to see. And Mr. Mullendore was kind of, he was precise, you know, he couldn't see very good, he had real thick glasses. I worked for Joe Clifford, and Joe Clifford had two boys about my age, and we remodeled his house a lot, and he was plumber and carpenter, and Joe did a lot of work out there too. As a matter of fact, he was kind of a ranch foreman there for a while on construction. We built that crossbell sign out there in the front, and many hay barns in the hay fields with Chub Anderson and a bunch of us kids, and we just hunted and fished like crazy, and we did a lot of work. But Mr. Mullendore was a nice man to me. He always treated me fair, but he could get really hateful if he wanted to. And she was a lot of fun to drive around too, and she was a gorgeous lady, probably one of the prettiest ladies I ever seen for, you know, being somebody.
You used to go up to the old Abbey house.
Oh yeah. We used to go up there and play up there a lot of times in high school, junior high and stuff. They always said it was haunted, but it wasn't. It just.
Oh, I know. Because the folks knew the Mullendores too.
Huh?
The folks knew the Mullendores too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they had all their parties, and Mr. Mullendore had all all the call girls come in from Kansas City and then come in there and have big Christmas parties every year in there. That's what he told me. Had big times in there. And you know, that thing, even all through high school, the furniture was still in there. Pianos and couches and everything. Just like somebody lived there. And we'd go up there and act silly, I always take somebody up there to scare them. But it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, there's still no piano there when I was going up there.
Yeah.
In pretty bad shape, though.
Oh, yeah.
And then it burned, didn't it? So
Yeah.
kids set it on fire.
Yeah, somebody set it on fire,
Yeah.
burn it down.
Yeah. Did you play sports in high school?
I played all the sports. I played everything I could do to keep from doing homework. I played football. I started playing baseball in Pee Wee with Joe Clifford. He was our neighbor coach, and his boys and I played together a lot, and Terry and Jim. And I played Pee Wee, Pony League, high school, and pitching at Talclaw at the end.
Have a good team in high school?
Had a real good team. I pitched several no-hitters. Pitched one in Miami on the radio one time, which was the highlight of my pitching deal, and pitched a lot of several no-hitters. I could throw a 91 to 93 mile an hour fastball, and that there wasn't nobody in Washington County, even high school kids couldn't throw one that.
Yeah.
We had a track meet at College High one time, and I threw a baseball 298 feet, which is like 2 more feet, being 100 yards.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a kid even close. And I threw a javelin 69 yards, and all the coaches was out in front, you know, up close, and I reared back through that and went plumb over them, went on 79 yards, and won first place there and throwing the baseball. That's all I could do, is spear chucker.
Who was your favorite teacher?
My favorite teacher in high school, or all the way through?
All the way through.
I'll probably have to say my typing teacher, Mrs. Hunt. I had more fun with her, and of course my football coach, Haskell Jennings, was probably the two best teachers that I was really acquainted with.
Why were they your favorites?
Mrs. Hunt one time took me to. My sister taught me to type one year. I had the mumps, and I was only about 7th grade, and she got a yardstick, and she said, I have to sit here and babysit you, and you're going to learn to type. And she took this yardstick, and she said, now, every time you look at the keys, I'm going to smack your head. So I would sit there typing off of something, and I'd peek a little bit, and she'd whop. And I learned to type really well in the 7th grade. And so Mrs. Hunt brought me to Bartlesville to type against the fastest kids in Washington County, and I won that deal. I was the fastest boy in Washington County. But she was a classic teacher.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hunt was.
What did you do after high school?
After high school, I went to work over at Enid on bridge construction. My dad was working on the railroad there, and he got me a job there on the Frisco Railroad, trying to make enough money to go to school on. And so I worked there all summer.
What'd you do?
I was on bridge construction.
Okay. What'd you do with the construction crew?
We changed the railroad ties out on the bridges.
Okay.
And the railroad crossings and stuff like that. And I was only there for just through the summer, and then when school was starting, I entered the Talclaw.
Northeastern?
Yeah.
What did you study at Northeastern?
I was just studying the basic stuff, and I was really wanting to try to get a baseball pitching scholarship there. And I knew I didn't know whether I would even make it or not. I took the deferment thinking I could dodge the draft, and I passed it barely. And after I got out of there, while I was down there, I came home one weekend, and I had a letter from the government that said it was my draft notice. So I run down here to try to join the Navy, and they said it's too late.
So when were you drafted?
In 1966, August the 17th.
Where'd you go for your basic training?
Went to Fort Bliss, Texas. There was 9 double-decker Greyhound buses picked up all the kids in Washington County, about, I don't know, 600, 700, I think. And on this day to take us to Oklahoma City for physical. We got down there, and then they told me, they said, you need to call home, tell your mom you ain't coming home for supper. I said, oh, where am I going now? And they said, Fort Bliss, Texas. So they put us on a plane and flew us out there, and it was hot. And desert training, direct Vietnam, that's mainly what it was for.
Tell me about basic.
Basic training was pretty exciting, a lot of fun, but basic training, they run us on that desert every day to get, and I was in good shape from playing ball, and man, the sun and the dust and everything, your skin would just peel off from being out there. We was in the desert living in tents for the first 30, 40 days, and scorpions was bad, and people would get in their sleeping bags in a little half tent shelter. And basic training seemed like death was always in front of me and behind me. I said, and there was several kids got killed out there. They was crawling under the wire at night, and I don't know whether a scorpion got them or snake got them or what, but they jumped up and a lot of them got shot and killed. They just didn't even stop nothing. They just kept everything going. But
You go on bivouac?
oh yeah.
Tell me about bivouac.
Well, bivouac, that was the training for, they run us every so many miles after so many, I'm probably not gonna get where you want to be, but anyway, they would run us, they started us out like 7 miles every morning and for breakfast, and then you'd have to do all these calisthenics and stuff, exercises. And then next week they would be going 14 miles, and next week would be going 15, 17, 21, and the last one was 29 miles. And they took us out there at 3 o'clock, and they said, you see that light way over on that hill? That's where you gotta be by daylight tomorrow, next morning. And it was so hot, your lips would bleed and crack, and skin would just peel off of you and everything. And there's a little guy named Mitchell, Bill Mitchell, he wouldn't even weigh 90 pounds, and he was dragging a backpack and a 14-pound rifle. And he said, I'm gonna die out here, I can't do it. And I said, give me your rifle and hang on to my backpack. And I drug that little fella probably 15 miles. And every day I see him now, he'll come up to me and hug me and give me, he said, thank you. He said, you saved my life. I never made it without you. And he was always bragging on me and everything. And he's still alive today. And
Where does he live?
he lives up by Juan.
Okay.
He couldn't march. He couldn't march. He didn't have no coordination. And they would jerk him out of there and make him do 50 or 100 push-ups. It's, come out of there, squirrel. Get over here and give me 100 push-ups. You know, he just didn't have no rhythm or nothing. He couldn't march a leg.
Basic lasted how long?
Oh, about 6 weeks.
What's your most vivid memory of basic?
Ooh. I don't know. It was just, it seemed like time was going so fast, and we were just dumb kids. We didn't know what we were doing anyway. But probably the most exciting thing was the rifle range and going out and practicing and competing. And I didn't realize that I even shot that good, because there was 60,000 troops there at one time, and I come in second or third, and I didn't think I was even that good. And they called me in and asked me, said, are you shooting as good as you could? And I said, I'm scared to shoot good and scared to shoot bad, because I know I'm on a one-way ticket to Vietnam. And so they just died off after that, and but they made a big issue out of it.
But you fired expert.
Oh yeah, shot way expert.
Yeah.
And the guy that beat me out of all them troops in our unit and everything, he got sick or something, and he had to go to the hospital or something. Never did hear from him after that. So they moved me in. They said, "You shot number one now." Well, that's a big deal. So I didn't think much of it.
So after basic, where'd you go?
Went from there on, and you got to remember, when I went to get the physical, I didn't get to go home. A lot of them did. I went on to Fort Bliss, and after that, I didn't get to go home. They sent me on to Fort Sill for artillery training, 155 artillery, and that was pretty exciting. And everything was hot pursuit direct Vietnam. Everything you done.
Now, 155, is that a howitzer?
Yeah, howitzer.
Okay. Now, what is a howitzer?
A howitzer is kind of like a tank. There's a Todd, and there's a 105 is a little bitty howitzer, which is a cannon, most people call it. And then you got the 155, 105, 155, 175, and an 8-inch. 8 inches, the big one. And shoots, 155 shoots a 96-pound Projo up to about 30 miles. And the self-propel was where we were training for. And that was it. And then I had 3 days from Fort Sill to be in Fort Dix, New Jersey after Fort Sill.
What's the crew of the 155?
Huh?
How many on the crew of a 155?
Well, as many as 8, because you have a driver, and you have of course, those Projos are 96 pounds, so it usually takes 2 people to, you got so many people in there, 8 guys inside there, mainly unloading and loading Projos, for test fires and stuff. And that's usually 6 to 8 man team. You'd have a sergeant over all of you, a drill sergeant, and then you'd have a driver, and then you'd have a gunner, and then you'd have the grunts, and what we call each other as grunts. And we take turns in driving.
Okay.
Different things.
Now, the 155 is not fixed ammunition, is it? You put the bags in behind it?
Yeah.
You put the bags in behind it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you put the 96-pound Projo, you had a timer, you could have an air timer on the end, or you'd have point designate, or you could have it delayed, and like shooting at airplanes, and it'd go off so many minutes, and then you put the powder bags in behind it, and then the breech block would close, and you'd have a 45 caliber cap blank and put in there with a lanyard. And while you was in there, the gunner would be, you have to set that thing up on your aiming post and get everything lined up. And then you'd say, okay, they'd say, ready up, fire, and then jerk that lanyard, and it'd just go off inside there, and it's pretty loud, and the recoil would come back in there, inside there, and it'd shoot several miles.
How long's the barrel on the 155?
Oh, probably at least 25 feet.
How do you clean that gun?
Well, after you fired it, first thing you did, you jerked the breech open, and you'd have a guy outside run a swab through there to clean the powder and lubricate it. And same way in the back end, they'd swab it from the inside and then ram it in there. You could shoot quite a bit pretty fast.
Now, are you trained for every position on the crew?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're trained to do anything on the gun?
No, I was gunner, lanyard man, and everything. Everybody in there trained to do everything in case somebody got hurt.
Okay. How'd you travel to Fort Dix?
Huh?
How'd you travel to Fort Dix?
By plane. Had to catch a plane at Tulsa. After Fort Sill, they run us home on a bus, and then had 3 days to get to Fort Dix, New Jersey, by plane.
What'd you do at Fort Dix?
So we just more or less got our stuff ready for overseas, and making sure because we down here leaving Fort Sill there, all we had was summer gear, and that was a summer greens that I had on when I left here, and we didn't have no winter gear. So then we got on a plane and flew from there to Frankfurt, Germany.
Okay. Tell me about the trip. You left, did you leave from Fort Dix?
Yeah.
Okay. What were you thinking getting on the airplane, leaving the States?
Well, I never did smoke, and a guy gave me a package of cigarettes, and he said, here. I said, we may not be coming back. He said, here, try these cigarettes, and I smoked about half of them between it, because that's I forget how many hours it took to go over the ocean, and we landed in Frankfurt, Germany, and I got there, my whole throat was getting kind of sore from smoking them cigarettes. I said, these things kill you. So I quit, giving back to him what I had left. But other than that, it's pretty exciting to fly over the ocean going that far. It's a big old plane. I don't know how many people was on there. There's a lot.
What did you do at Frankfurt?
Well, we got off of Frankfurt and got there and hung around there, and there was some troops to pick us up and put us on another train and went to Baumholder, Germany, which is 8 miles up on a mountain. And cold, it was right in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm. What unit were you assigned to?
I was in the, it was an artillery unit, A division, I can't remember what it was, I've got it here somewhere, but,
What division were you in? What division?
just artillery.
Artillery? Were you assigned to a division?
Eighth division artillery.
Okay. Was that the 8th Infantry Division?
8th Infantry, yeah.
What artillery unit were you in? Do you recall?
No, I can't remember. They were in Baumholder, Germany, and it's kind of like A battery,
Okay.
8th Division artillery.
Okay.
It's a big unit, big unit there.
What did you do at Baumholder?
Baumholder was the first night I was there. They had what they call a red alert. Every so often, every month, they have a red alert, and that you grab your stuff, go to the motor pool, and you get in your howitzer, and you go to the field, to a certain area out in the jungle, in the woods. And I had just got there in them greens, and that night, I said, what's going on? They said, grab everything. Well, I hadn't packed my duffel bag. And I grabbed what I had, and we went up to the motor pool, and I still had my dress shoes, slippers on, and there was about probably 4 or 5 inches of snow, pretty cold. And we went out to the field, and the next morning, I just jumped in there with this group that I was assigned to, where my bed was and everything, my wall locker. And they said, come on, we're going to the motor pool. So we got up there, and when we got out there, I thought, well, there wasn't no heaters in those howitzers, no heaters, cold. So they started giving me some of their gear and coats and stuff. Of course, I was dragging out some of my socks and stuff, Got out there next morning, and they said, stand attention. And that captain and the first sergeant come by, and they chewed my butt out. And they said, what in the world are you doing out here in your summer greens? I said, I just got here last night. And they said, well, they didn't give you no clothes, no winter gear. No, I didn't have time. I just barely got set down on my bunk, and they said, grab your stuff and come on. And so that's where I'm at. And there was one guy felt sorry for me, and he said, put these rubber boots on, which was the Mickey Mouse boots. Yeah. And he chewed my butt out and told me, said, hey, get them things off. You don't wear slippers in them. And okay. And he said, I mean, get them off now. So I had to sit down in the snow and walk around. They just gave me a hard time, I think. I just pulled them off and stand at attention, doing all this, and they was screaming and hollering at me. So I said, boy, this ain't gonna be no good. So after they got back to the barracks, well, I kind of settled down. They called me in and just laughed at me and told me they apologized for giving me such a hard time out there. I just really thought I was in trouble to start with.
What part of Germany is Baumholder located?
It's way up on a mountain, and it's right there. It's about, I'd say probably about 30, 40 miles from Frankfurt.
Okay.
And it's 14 miles up on a mountain, and it was a nice base, really nice. We had everything we needed there.
What type of quarters you have there?
Really nice, really nice. They were left over from World War II, really nice German barracks and stuff, and really, really nice base.
Now, when we were at Bad Kreuznach and the German barracks, and you could see the eagle up there, and they had removed the swastika.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of them. I seen a lot of them where they had painted over them, and,
Yeah.
and if they were embedded in the cement and stuff, they painted over
Yeah.
them, stuff like that.
Have any contact with the local people?
No, I enjoyed talking to a lot of the local people.
What was their reaction to you?
Germany was good. Germans just loved us. And we'd go visit a lot of them and go to some of their little old beer places where they'd have beer and stuff and their parties. And of course, I could get along with anyone. I was like a Will Rogers. I never met her. Anyway, the French now, they didn't like us because the French at that time, the Americans, the president, we pulled out of France, everything, and about killed our economy. And they would try to kill you. We were on a tour, and they shot at us, and we thought, what's wrong with these people? Tried to run over us on the sidewalk and everything, and this cab driver said, you guys better get out of here. These Frenchmen will kill you. So he took us to the train station, and we went back to Baumholder, got out of there. But it seemed like everywhere we went, we were shot at or something.
Were you training in case the Russians came into West Germany?
No.
Okay.
We had a Red Hawk missile and artillery, and we were aware of something could have happened. But, being kids then, we didn't think anything was really serious would happen.
So what did you do in Germany? What was your job?
My job in Germany, in Baumholder, when I shot at Fort Sill, qualification there, I shot real high there too. And then I got to Germany, we shot again. And I thought, and a friend of mine that was shooting on the 8th Division National Rifle Team, he said, you want to shoot on this rifle team? He said, I'm going home. And I said, I don't know. So they took me down there to qualify. And I shot, and they said, yeah, we'll take you. And I said, they ain't gonna let me go. And there was some big general called and told him, turn me loose, or he would put on an inspection. And they said, get your stuff and get out of here. And so they put me on a Deuce 3/4 ton and took me to Mainz, Germany. And that's where the 8th Division National Rifle Team was. And that's where they picked me up. And I shot all over Europe in competition. And that's where we were stationed in Mainz, Germany in the 509th Airborne Unit. And that's where they would come there for special training, the 509th Airborne, and we got to train some of them for special shooting, and you had to be a certain qualification to shoot. And we were just like the Olympics. We shot against all the Army, top shooters in all the Army, in England, Great Britain, England, London, and shot against the top shooters of all over.
What rifle were you firing?
M14.
M14.
And we'd shoot it from 1,000 yards to 200 offhand. 600 was my best range.
How long you on the rifle team?
About a year and a half. And it seemed like that, matter of fact, I thought about staying in because it's such good duty, but they were still, Vietnam was so hot, and a lot of troops we trained a lot of special forces and shooting long distance and everything, and then we get a letter every month telling how many that there was retired and placed, and we'd train them, and they wouldn't last 60 to 90 days over there. And the snakes, malaria, and everything would get them. And then they got to sending us to the hospitals. When they'd send them to Germany, had a lot of them that were still alive, got the best medical care. And they'd send us up there to talk to them and see what would be the things we could train to help them do better. And of course, you know, we didn't know what we were doing half the time, but that was good duty and getting to be an honor to shoot. And probably the best time there, General Cassidy, Commander of Defense, he came there to shoot at Mannheim, Germany. That's where the prison was. Mm-hmm. And we were shooting for his top 500 shooters of the world. Mm-hmm. And I come in 129th shooter out of 500. And I got my paper clip of a newspaper deal. That's where we shot in that match. We won a lot of matches. And I got some pictures at home. We had about 32 trophies or something that we left over there in the barracks that we won.
What's your most vivid memory of Germany?
Getting to see historical stuff, Holland, and traveling in Munich where they had the Olympics, and shooting matches at different places, and we got to go to Rome, we got to go to Spain, Belgium, England, London. We just traveled because we had a rifle team had overnight pass and weekend passes every weekend if you wasn't shooting, competing. As long as you didn't come in drunk or got in trouble, you was okay. But if you just mess up one time, you're 1049 Vietnam is over.
Yep.
And it was cold, but I could take the cold. I didn't like the heat. And I knew it was going to be hot over there on both ends. And so I just stayed with them and shot the best I could for them.
So from Germany, where'd you go?
From Germany, I came home. Mm-hmm. And after I left Germany, we flew into Kennedy Airport, and when we came through customs, I had a lot of guns and knives and stuff that I'd bought, and we had to come through customs there. And I was carrying a rifle and pistols and some knives and stuff that I had bought at the gun club. And all the hippies was all lined up there along when we were coming through the gate.
Well, where was this?
This is Kennedy Airport.
Kennedy, okay.
And they were throwing urine and feces on us in cups, hollering baby killers and all this stuff. And of course, then it was about as bad, dangerous as coming back home as it was going home. And it seemed like back in there when that howitzer blew up on us and blowed our eardrums out, we were shooting a fire in Grafenwehr, Germany, where they had to test shoots. Mm-hmm. And this howitzer breech block blew off inside there, and it powder burned us and blowed us out the door, and it should have killed us. And we would just crawl around on our hands and knees, you know, and the shell burnt, and we had to go to the hospital, and they told us, tell them that you're going to put this on their dental records, and we told the nurses and the doctors in there that our sergeant wanted us to put this on put it down as dental so we won't ruin our safety record. And they said, oh, bull, we can't do that. Well, I said, that's what we were told. And so, anyway.
What happened? Why did it blow up?
There was a crack in the breech block, and when we fired for effect, it just blew half of it off, and it just backfired and blowed the powder and burn in there. And there's a black guy putting the Projos in there, and he was standing by the door, and he looked like you throwed flour on him, it burned him so bad. He was white, and not blowed just that other little black guy out the door and broke his teeth off and about cut his head off when it blew him out the door. And I was up in the gunner quadrant, up in the corner, and it didn't get me as bad because the recoil was back here and I was up here. But it burned all the hair off of us through our clothes and everything. And we laid around up there for the hospital for a couple of days. And that's when the rifle team come up there and said, and while we was at Grafenbeer, we was all there, and the artillery 8-inch behind us shot over us, and it went off right by their tent, blowed their tent down, and shrapnel was flying everywhere. And they had a hydraulic leak in their elevation on that 8-inch, and then about 600-pound Projo. And if we hadn't have been all in the mess hall, over in the mess tent eating, we'd probably got all killed there, because it burnt that tent down and blowed holes in it. So it just seemed like you were just one step ahead of everything, behind it.
You ever have a short round?
Oh, yeah.
What is a short round?
A short round is just something that it malfunctioned of the powder. They didn't get enough powder in it, and it just lobbed it out there, or some of it didn't go off. And we had some of them. And when you open that breech and you still got the powder burning in there, you didn't know where to run or what.
Now, do you have forward observers?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you ever forward observer?
Yeah.
What do you do as a forward observer?
Forward observer's kind of like a scout. He'll go up and he'll shoot. He'll go up there by foot or by jeep, and he'll scout out the area you're going to be shooting at, and he'll draw up a perimeter, and he'll try to like on fire for effect. The first one on artillery, they'll say fire for effect. And that other observer will be up there, and he'll be scouting to see where it hit, and then he knows then which way to have you to go, radio back, and you can shoot higher or left or right or something like that.
And you, a forward observer, ever worry about a short round?
Mm-hmm. He has always wondered about a short round. And of course, artillery, I mean, when that thing went off, we used to stick razor blades in that nose piece, and it'd sound like a buzz bomb when it went off. Boom! You know, hear it go off, you know. But one time we were set up by Czechoslovakian border, and I wanted to write a letter to tell old Trump, you know, build that wall, put some mines and stuff out there and everything, and put them guards up there to shoot at you. They told us, they said, you get within 100 yards of that wall and they will kill you, and they don't call the ambulances. And so we could see the guards up there, and we sat up there with our spotting scopes and our rifles. That's when we was on the rifle team. We'd sit up there, look at them, you could see them walking up there with their rifles looking at you, you know. And that was when we were on that sniper team. 8-man sniper team on the rifle team was a rattle battle. You were designed to wipe out probably 350 people within 15 minutes. You had to have a proof kill of 100 shots to qualify for the kill. And that's five clips with 20 rounds in it. And you'd shoot silhouettes at 600 yards or 1,000. And the two end men was swing guys. And the ones in the middle shoot straight ahead. You'd have a perimeter. You'd shoot from here to there, and that's your area. You shoot everything moves. And that's how you was designed to be an 8-man sniper team.
Did you qualify for a sniper team?
Yep.
Do you want a sniper team?
Yeah, matter of fact, this right here was, infantry trophy match. This is where I shot a 546 out of 600 score, and we won the first team winner of they call it infantry trophy. It's a rattle battle.
Yeah. No, rattle battle.
That's the same thing. You're shooting as fast as you can. You got so many minutes. All 5 of you will shoot 5 clips apiece. And when they pull the targets up, you shoot, breathe, poo, 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 poo. You shoot, and you got to have so many proof kills on them silhouettes to qualify. You have to shoot at 90%.
What do you think when you saw those guards in Czechoslovakia?
What?
What do you think when you saw those guards in Czechoslovakia on the wall?
Well,
Border.
I knew that they were probably telling the truth. And I thought, we could, of course, we were always thinking a lot too, that this could start World War IV. We're through if we shot one of them or something. But we didn't go
Were
there.
they Russian to Czechoslovakian?
Czechoslovakia, yeah. It was right on the border of Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
And they were pretty strict stuff over there. But
You get
we
to Berlin?
Huh?
You get to Berlin?
No. But we did go to Belgium, and yeah, we did too go to Berlin. And but I can't think of all the other places, but we got to see a lot of stuff where World War II had blowed those buildings all to pieces. I mean, the churches and the cathedral churches were just shot all up bad.
You see the Berlin Wall?
Yeah.
What did you think when you saw that wall?
I don't know. It just give you cold chills. And we'd go into some of them dungeons where they had the Holocaust and some of them places, and it would just give you cold chills going in there and reading what the historical was about it in World War II and how they treated the Jews and all that. It just really, really bad. But going through sniper training, they wanted you to see anything that was gross. They run us in them films and stuff, more or less brainwash you, because they wanted you to see everything that you're going to be seeing if you went into combat. And that's mainly what we were doing, is training people, and even ourselves, to go in there. And even as far as being able to learn to skin a man's face out if you was on a mission to assassinate somebody to get the bounty money. And they don't bring this up, and you don't hear of any of this stuff. And to have a proof kill, you could either skin his face out, roll it in salt or antifreeze and put it in your backpack, or you could cut a tattoo off of it. And I see these kids, and today when I go in to eat somewhere and I look at that, and I thought, where would I start cutting on a tattoo on that fella? Just skin his arm out or something, his whole neck or something. But it's amazing. And we had cobra venom that you could carry in special weapons, and I was a top secret clearance special weapons. And you could have cobra venom that you could carry in a vial, and if you was POW, you could swallow it and pass it out and hit somebody one more time with it and suffocate them 3 minutes, or kill yourself if you got legs blowed off or something like that. But I didn't think too much of it, but we carried it with us sometimes. And then we had these little knives that was push button that would go through a 1/4-inch piece of plywood, and that was special weapons too. And you'd have to check all that stuff back in after you got to playing with it. But I never could find those knives. I had 2 of them, and I just wanted to try to steal one of them, and I never did. I had to check them back in. But they would go through a 1/4-inch piece of plywood by a button, and then hit it again, they'd suck it in, and you could hit somebody in the night or something. Special weapons was pretty gross too.
So, you spent a year in Germany, you came home.
About a year and a half. Well, no, 2 years.
2 years. 2 years in Germany?
Yeah.
Okay. And you came home and what'd you do?
After I got home, I just tickled to death to get back, and I kind of, a lot of my buddies has already got killed and everything, and
What, in Vietnam?
yeah, they were in Vietnam. We flew over Vietnam 3 times and never did land.
When did you fly over Vietnam?
When we were on a hot alert twice. One time they blew up the Turkey American embassy, and they put us on a plane, and I didn't go through jump school. I was just a rifle trainer and a shooter, competition shooter. And they put us on the plane and were gonna fly us to Turkey and parachute us out at night. And I didn't know where we was going. I thought they were just playing a game with us. And I told that old kid in front of me, we was hooked to the wire and the red light was on. And when they opened the door, you're going out that door. Locked and loaded, and sweat was running down my back, and fully locked and loaded ammo. And I told that old kid in front of me, I said, I didn't go to jump school. And he looked at me and he said, that's all right. I said, I'm gonna grab you around the waist, and when we go out that door, we're going down together. And they told us that just stay away from light poles and from water, you'll be okay. Flag poles and water, you'll be all right. Oh yeah, thanks. And about that time, they shut the door and flipped the light on. And we thought, what in the world's going on now? Because we was flying right over Turkey and getting ready to jump out. And they said, it's over. They don't need you now. So they flew us back to Germany, back in their bomb holder. And our mines,
Yeah.
Rhine, Maine. And that was another thing when your spare time was, if you wasn't doing anything, you'd get caught on detail putting dead bodies on the plane, 300 to 600 a week. That'd give you something to think about.
Was this in Baumholder?
This is Mainz, Germany. In Mainz, Germany was Air Force Base, Rhine, Maine.
Why there so many dead?
Oh, that's where they were sending them over there from Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
They were sending them in there for medical, and they were dying. And you might get stuck on the detail, putting them on a plane, shipping them back here.
Yeah.
And
What'd you think when you were putting them on the airplane? These guys that died.
always, every time I seen a plane load leave, I say, I wonder how many gallons of tears would that bring when I get back to the States, you know. Knowing, you know, your percentage is pretty great too. You could be on there too. But that was part of the training, is they wanted you to see combat and blood and guts and stuff. But,
Now, you said you flew over Vietnam?
yeah, we flew over twice. We were General Cassidy's escort team and we never did land. We were just flying. Matter of fact, I thought we was on a tour type thing, and they were going to land, and then they didn't.
General Cassidy was commanding general
Yeah,
of the 8th Division?
well, he was commander of the defense in the White House.
Oh, okay.
But we knew we wasn't gonna get him into combat.
Yeah.
They wasn't gonna get him close in there.
So you came back home, what'd you do?
After I got home, I flew from Kennedy Airport to Tulsa, and I got home and just always liked the rodeo. Always liked to be a cowboy, and I did it mostly hunting and fishing and bird hunting and my girlfriend, I wouldn't marry her. Her mom and dad was cowboy people. They rodeoed. They rodeoed with Reba McIntyre's mom and dad and all that. Back in them days, that's all her dad worked for Phillips, and he was cowboy. His name was Ed May. And so when I got back, well, I wouldn't marry her until I told her, I said, I probably may not get back, and I wasn't gonna marry her and go on into that. And so I got back, she's still waiting on me and everything, so we got married in '69, and got 68 and '69, December, January 18th, and we got married, and I went to work for Rita Pump.
Now, when were you discharged?
68, August 17th.
1960. You went to work for Rita Pump?
Yep, went to work there. for about 6 months, and then city service. My wife went to work for city service right after she graduated out of high school, which is here in Bartlesville. And so she was still working while I was gone. And then when I came back, well, I was working there, went to work to read a pump, and I didn't like the way they operated down there. A lot of backstabbing, brother-in-law stuff. So one day at lunch, I went up to city service, and they was fixing to move to Tulsa. And I said, "They got any openings?" "Yeah, come on." So I had to go back down there and give them 2 weeks' notice. And then I went to work with city service, and we lived in Dewey. And my wife's mom and dad's a little 10-acre place out there east of the cement plant. And then we moved to Oshaleta. That's where we're at now.
Where'd you meet your wife?
I met her in 9th grade and about 9th or 10th grade in high school.
What's your wife's name?
Mary.
What was her maiden name?
Mary Louise May.
Mary Louise May. Okay.
Ed May was her dad, and Helen was her mom. They were great people. They had cattle, and they raised cattle, and cowboy situation. And I always wanted to be a cowboy. Riding them horses, the Mullen door just kind of spurred me. And I always wanted somebody that was a real cowboy. And her dad was a real cowboy. And her brothers and all rodeo, world champion stuff.
Yeah.
And they rodeoed with Reba McIntyre's mom and dad, grandpa, and a lot of the world's champions around here. They all were related or knew them.
How long did you work with city service?
I worked there about 23 years.
What'd you do for them?
I was in the production. I started out in geological, well logging information. I ended up in production department and doing expediting materials control. I traveled probably 13, 14 years of the time I was there. I was in Canada. I was in offshore on the platforms and all over Midland, Odessa, California, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida. Wherever city service had a lot of oil wells and
Were
stuff.
you with them when they were bought out by Occidental?
Yes. When T. Boone Pickens was working on Phillips came to city service and came that close to merging. We were down there about 3 weekends in a row, working overtime, Saturdays and Sundays, showing them all the leases and all the production we had. City service and Phillips would have merged at that time, would have been the biggest oil company in the world. And they just couldn't get it together. Dr. Hammer come in and bought out the production department. And then wasn't much after that, he sold off the marketing to Venezuela, Chavez. And he took that over, and we stayed in production with Occidental, which was out of Bakersfield headquarters. And we was in out of Bakersfield a lot. And I traveled everywhere, Kansas. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And
So when did you retire?
When
did you retire?
I got laid off in '89.
Okay.
In 1989, I got laid off, and I was kind of before the song came out, Mr. Mom, and I had 2 boys, and they were in junior high, and I started leasing land, and my father-in-law had a lot of leased land all over. We leased that old Tyler Ranch down there on the old highway. We leased it for about 40 years, and we had cattle strung all over there and every little places. From here to Sedan, Kansas, we had cattle. And I just did that, and fished and hunted and took care of my kids. And I played the stock market with my 401k. I took my 401k and went to Edward E. Jones and asked them, there was an old man I fished and hunted with, and he was kind of he knew how to play the stock market. And so they said, "We'll take your 401k and we'll lock it in at 19.6 for 20 years. And I said, "That sounds like a good deal to me." And they said, "Now, you know, if it goes up, you just get 19.6. And I said, "Yeah, but if it goes down, you get 19.6. So I played that game for almost, 20 years, and they said that we ain't gonna do that no more, because the oil didn't go up anymore, and it just, and I made quite a bit of money on them, and my wife working and everything, and then I got to doing all kinds of stuff, and I was buying horses and cows and anything to make a dollar on it. Gun trading, I probably sold $4,000 or $5,000 worth of guns a year, and I just had a really fun, wild life, and still shooting competition, and I had a lot of fun with like I said, we fished and hunted like crazy on them leases and ranches.
Would you join the Army again?
Yes. When I first got drafted, I hated the military. I thought they messed up my whole life. I said, this crazy thing. When I got drafted, I thought that wrecked my ball playing. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And it just turned my world upside down. I thought I hated the military for this nonsense. And then after I got out, it was probably the greatest thing I'd ever done in my life. And I tell a lot of kids nowadays, if you struggle in school and you don't think you're college material, join the military. And I just preach to them and tell them it's the greatest thing that you'll ever do in your life, because they will teach you how to brush your teeth and how to take a shower properly, and the physical physique training that you'll learn, you'll never forget it.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction. The first one is basic training.
Now what?
When you hear basic training, what do you think of?
I think it's a great experience. It changes you from a boy to a man, and you don't really realize it.
155 howitzer.
Big loud toy.
Bomb holder.
Bomb holder, Germany. Beautiful country, beautiful experience, a lot of fun.
Rifle team.
Rifle team was the greatest thing that ever happened in my life in the military. And we shoot 500 shells a day, number one grade match ammo with the best rifles, the best gunsmith, and the best coaches in the world that trained us and helped us shoot, give us their 100%, and we give them their 100% shooting.
Forward observer.
Forward observers kind of make you feel like that you were the head of the ball game. You're the one that made the decision where to shoot, and when to shoot, and how to shoot it. And you're shooting over many Germans' houses and people and cities and land and everything. You could mess up and you could kill a lot of people pretty easy.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Well, the greeting that we got was such a disappointment when the hippies and all of them and draft dodgers and everything, and I still can't get over that, but throwing cups of urine and feces on you. But it was a nice place, pretty complex, but we were so disappointed we didn't have time to think about anything good, because we just couldn't handle it.
Lyndon Johnson.
Huh?
Lyndon Johnson.
He's the one that got me drafted. He started the mess.
Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon. He was okay. Of course, we were so young then, we didn't care who was in.
How do you want to be remembered?
That I was honest and fair, and I treated everybody like I wanted them to treat me. And I'd always try to help the youth and want people to help their youth and in training, and give it all they got. When you get in there, give it every inch of your. A lot of times you tribe and you think after you get through, you didn't really try hard enough. And to train the youth nowadays and leave them a legacy to whatever you do, give it all you got, if that's what you want to be.
Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to talk about?
On the military or just
Anything.
No, I've had probably the greatest life for somebody in my situation that you could ever have. I grew up, my dad was a preacher. He preached at church for 42 years as he worked on the railroad 38 years. And I always had a strict home, and I had the best parents. I didn't smoke or drink, or they didn't do tobacco. They didn't let us cuss. We wasn't allowed to even say darn or dang. And my mom was one of the best cooks in the world. We never went hungry. My dad was the greatest guy. He was real strict, and he tried to, and he only had about 7th grade education, but he was honest and strict and a hard worker, and that's the way we grew up. And I always tell these kids that nowadays you couldn't live today even if my mom and dad, under them, that killed you, but now, when some of these kids are just running free, and I thought, boy, this world's just going to pot in a handbasket.
Well, sir, this is an excellent interview.
Huh?
This is an excellent interview.
You think so?
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
And
I'm
again,
glad you did it.
This is January 7th, 2019. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Jackie Long in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.